Hello there, viewers, and welcome to Blue Sky Media. And this is the platform where we get to discuss topical issues, issues that intrigue you, issues that get you to think. And today we are joined by the leader of the Alliance Party for the Nationalists Alliance Party. That's Divine Mhambi Hove, who is going to be talking to us about politics. Yeah, today we're discussing politics, Zimbabwean politics, and try to understand whether our politics is what we have been told is what it is. Welcome to the program, Mr. Mhambi.
Thank you, Mpangazitha. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Maybe I know we've done an interview together where we spoke about the party. Maybe let's start with the party. Where is the party? Where do you stand at this point in time?
Well, the party, the Nationalist Alliance Party, is unfortunately caught up in the turmoil that is affecting the economy, that is prevailing in the country. So we are at a position where we have sort of gone to the drawing board to re-strategize how we can find our footing again in the political space, especially knowing that the political structure that has been set up in our country and predominantly in Africa does not make it easy for political formations to survive. So because of the polarization, because of resources, because of many other legal factors as well. And also, most importantly, the psychological conditioning of people, whereby people really focus on one or two parties. We are forced to be doing a back and forth and hopefully find a footing. So we are in that stage where we are re-strategizing and also, most importantly, preparing for the next elections, which are due in 2028, hopefully in 2028.
Right. Let's talk Zimbabwean politics. What do you make of Zimbabwean politics? The politicians included, you being one of them.
It's a very deep and broad question. It's a question which we could talk about for the whole year and maybe many years to come, and maybe never get to a very common position. But, before we start, I want to mention just 3 points which I need you to, and the viewers, to bear in mind, and I've sort of like jotted them down here. It's just 3 positions which I feel are necessary as a foundation. Number one, the law that we are operating in now, in terms of the Constitution, allows for political ideas. In fact, there's a whole section which talks about political rights. So the way the law operates currently provides for political ideas to be brought forward, to be supported. It's actually a right which every Zimbabwean has. And the way the law operates currently is that every 5 years we must have election. So I raise this point to say that it's normal for people to be involved in politics in fulfillment of the Constitution, so that once in every 5 years there has to be elections. Elections about what? Elections about choosing a political party based on an ideology, based on a cause which they sell to the people. So it is normal that within a cycle of elections, prior to those elections, there should be a governing party and there should be contesting parties which hopefully can contest in upcoming elections. Now, that is a right that is enshrined in the Constitution. It is not illegal to be participating in election. It is not illegal to be selling an idea, to be promoting a cause. The Constitution actually says it's a right to promote a political cause. And I say this to say because I think many people get confused or they don't understand that right to the point that they think whenever you have a political idea or a political cause which you want to push for, promote, and hopefully contest based on that idea, you are deemed to be an enemy. You are deemed to be doing something wrong. So that in itself limits the possibilities, the possible political possibilities we can have as a nation. Because we are already confining ourselves to say we cannot accommodate or accept options. So whatever political idea that you then generate or think or want to promote, it is your right to promote for it, to campaign for it, and contest based on that idea when election time comes. Point number 2, when a country is going through a lot of challenges, it is normal for people to start wanting to be involved because the political problems affect the day-to-day lives of people. So when a country is going through turmoil, like what is happening in Zimbabwe, the economy is not doing well. The reality is a lot of people begin to stand up because they want to find a solution primarily for themselves, their families, their country, whatsoever. So it's normal that you begin to see a lot of political actors propping up. I think you see it in South Africa, you've seen it in DRC. It is normal. It is actually a sign that something is not right. So it should not surprise people when they see political players, 10 players this year, 20 next year, 100 next year, because it's an indication that something is not right. And then last point, number 3, you cannot escape the reality of, they say adapt or die. If you do not adapt, the circumstances prevailing will affect you. We are somehow still stuck in between whether we want to move forward or want to move backwards as a country. So we are not sure which era we are living in, the modern times or the olden times. At one time we are suitable with the old, at the other time we are suitable with the old. So you can't really tell which direction the country is going. That foundation is clear because it then makes, or it's a cry to make people understand what is the general background of politics, so that when they see a new player, they know it's part of politics. So that when they see political parties sprouting, they know it's part of politics and it's part of a problem that, as I said, if the country was doing well, everything was okay, there would be no need for all these political players. So generally, that foundation gives us an understanding of what's happening politically. But I then want to say that the politics in our country has taken an unfortunate direction, according to what I think. Now, this is why I said when we started, political ideologies emerge, particularly out of a realization of a certain gap. So when that realization happens, it should be promoted, it should be campaigned for, it should be lobbied for, and eventually put up to a test, which is an election. So the problem in our country currently is that space is not there. You either have to be either or. And it's not like our country does not have people with a clear plan or clear ideas, but it's just that space which is not acceptable even to the people. You are not comfortable to say a political view in a manner that does not offend the next person. But all you are doing is to share a political idea. So we have that problem where until and unless we tolerate that Mpangazitha can come and say his views and say his ideas, and most importantly, campaign for them if he wishes, and it is totally accepted. But the moment he comes on board and says, guys, I've got this political thought, then if I feel that thought is not aligning with a certain idea, we are not friends anymore, to the point of fighting, to the point of hating each other, which they generally then call polarization.
Doesn't the buck then stop with the politicians? Because you find that they are the ones who are the drivers towards such actions, the ones who influence the masses to take certain action. So with that in mind, don't you reckon that the problems that we have politically in the country are as a result of politicians? And what role have they played in bringing
it is. I would agree with you. I would agree with you to a larger extent. It is the politicians to accept or to translate or even to interpret the meaning of politics to the general public, so that in my view, it is their way of preserving or holding on to a certain space which they don't want anybody else to enter. But I think the buck then eventually must stop with the people themselves, the public, the citizens, to say unless and until citizens wake up to the reality of knowing and appreciating the broader scope of politics, it is them that will continue to pay the price. Because as long as we tolerate politicians who are shutting out the political space, as long as we tolerate the ability to comfortably be ignorant about political realities, we pay the price. But until, they say school fees is what you pay to get knowledge. The school fees which the citizens are paying is that school fees of not wanting to appreciate the spectrum of politics. To say, when somebody stands up to preach hate, how do you react to that politician? As long as you are able to listen to that politician, act upon the word of that politician, effectively we pay the price, because there is no development, there is no progress, there is no movement, and we pay the price. So I think,
but someone will argue and say that he who pays the piper calls the tune. So the politicians will come and give the masses who are struggling, they give them things and with the promise that if you toe this line, you will get these things. And so at the end of the day, the politicians thrive in a scenario where people are suffering because they can be easily taken advantage of.
Yeah, I believe that. That's why I said you are correct to a certain extent. But I believe that eventually the wake-up call should also then come from the citizen to say we cannot be beaten by the same move year in, year out, election in, election out. Eventually these things die out. You can only survive with a certain number of tricks for a certain amount of time, but eventually with people becoming more and more conscious, and also with politicians coming out more and more, speaking a different language, a positive language, a teaching language, I believe that the citizens eventually will begin to make sense of what role they have to play. It cannot be, with civilization and all the technology and all the things that are happening in the world, people eventually begin to pick the signals. And you then realize that even the most powerful, strong ideas which are captive, which are non-democratic, eventually collapse because people become more and more aware. What we cannot do as a nation is to tire, to keep doing that which we think is right. I would encourage that sector of politicians who are doing proper politics should not tire, should not give up. They should keep hitting at it, because eventually people are listening. And when you publish your manifesto, you can get away with it once or twice or maybe 5, 10 times. But eventually people will begin to realize, no. We are being taken for a ride. These things that you say you will do cannot happen. And I believe that enlightenment eventually will come.
There are those that say, politicians say in the opposition fraternity of which you are part of, they are performing politics of seeking inclusion, that all of them are seemingly against the current establishment, yet they are not really against it. All they want is a door to be open for them. and then they will be happy. So at the end of the day, politics, say, especially in Zimbabwe, has nothing to do about the livelihood of people, but it's more about these individuals who seek for certain doors to be opened for them. What would be your word on that assertion?
Again, without necessarily blaming the citizen, you've got to understand the background of where all this comes from. You know, a hungry man is easily manipulated. But I want to say that the buck again lies with the citizens to say, for example, when a manifesto comes out, do citizens take time to read or appreciate what is even called a manifesto? Do you know, the other time I was doing a survey in Bulawayo, and I just went around and asking people, do you know what is a manifesto? Do you know what is a manifesto? You'd be surprised that probably out of 20 people that I spoke with, only 5 or so understood what is a manifesto. I want to imagine if you went to the rural areas right now and you say, what is a manifesto? People do not appreciate the depth of politics, and that is what politicians take advantage of. What they preach is not what they intend, because no one is paying attention to what they have said. So I'm saying our duty as politicians, because there are groups and types of politicians, is to keep preaching that message to the people, so that perhaps 1 or 2 people will begin to pick the signal, pick the sound, to say, no. Whenever it's election time, we need to know what is the manifesto. We need to understand how the manifesto will be articulated. We need to understand how the things that are highlighted in the manifesto will be done. It's funny that lately you have political parties that go into election and openly tell you that we don't have a manifesto. We are riding on our history, or we are riding on, they tell you outright, we don't have a manifesto, and people vote for that. It's dangerous because you don't know what you are voting for. And in the middle of the electoral cycle, anything can happen, and you will not hold that party or that government accountable because you did not bother yourself to understand or to tolerate what is a manifesto. So I want to think that with time, as long as we have politicians that will keep preaching the right message, the teaching message, the consciousness message of politics, eventually the signals will begin to be heard, and people will know. So that next time a politician will come and say something, people will say, wait. What do you mean by this? How are you going to do it? Where do you want to take us? And you may find that perhaps at that time we may be safe.
As we round off now, what does the future hold for Zimbabwean politics, and what do you think needs to be done or undone to ensure that our politics is people-centered, and it is about making lives better? It is not about individuals. It is not about cliques. It is not about groupings. It is not about anything else but the benefit of the masses, who are the ones who bear the brunt when things are not going right. Because, one will argue that those that are able to shake hands, whether from different political persuasions, have a way of assisting each other when push comes to shove.
It's a very strong question again. And unfortunately, according to the belief that we have as the Nationalists Alliance Party, the damage was done right from the start. We have a lot of work to do, taking us way back to the point even of independence, to say what was supposed to be done. And I'm saying this from an ideological point of view as to what I believe, or what we believe should have been done. We need to start right from understanding the concept of independence. What is independence, and what does it mean to be independent? And I would say, like I tell many people, we are fortunate as Africa, as Zimbabwe. Australia. But Australia, Zimbabwe, Canada, we all say we are independent. But if you look closely at it, we are all independent from the British Empire. But you will find that the independence which Americans understand is not the kind of independence that we got. But we all say we are independent. So you'll find that even that concept of independence varies from person to person. So that post-independence we then move in one direction. I'm now convinced that people who got independence were of the same mind. I think people did not have the same concept collectively to say, this is what we want when we get independent, or this is what independence means. Probably there were very divergent views, and that is the foundation of our problems. Once we begin to understand the meaning of independence, then we will formulate a formula from there, which tells us what needs to be done. Currently, it's just, in my view, something that is a title, but without necessary action or necessary steps to validate that independence.
Interesting, and well, in just a paragraph, is there hope for Zimbabwe? I mean, there are some who have said that until maybe a certain generation goes away, a generation that went to war, that is an entitlement, that says we fought for this country, is gone. We will never be able to achieve anything. What's your view?
Well, like I said, we should never give up. We should keep, I don't know how long it will take, but the important thing is as long as we have people that will keep speaking a progressive, productive message that is based on facts and knowledge and articulating that to the people, I believe that eventually one day we will get there. But if we begin to tire and if we begin to give up, then perhaps there may never be hope. But perhaps this pain, again, that we're going through, in my view, I believe is a learning process for us. Sometimes it takes a lot of pain for people to go through pain so that it will force them, that pain will force them to then say, but guys, are we thinking critically? So that in that pain, we will then begin to say, no, guys, do you know we've done this 4, 5, 6, 7 times and it's not working. Perhaps it's time that we begin to listen to other ways, to other ideas, and see which is the way forward. I still want to believe there's hope for our country, and I believe that there are a lot of, our country has got potential. We cannot write it off. It can never, Zimbabwe will never die. Zimbabwe will never die, and I see that there's a bright future ahead, no matter the circumstances and the obstacles that we face.
That's a Divine Mhambi Hove, the president of the Nationalists Alliance Party. Thank you so much for joining us in the program. We always value having you, and we will have you again in the near future. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Mpangazitha. Thank you so much.